Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Akshay Chusu, the 2022 ICD USA Section Social Media Outreach Fellow. Please use the comment section on our Facebook page to tell us where you are watching from, leave a comment, or ask a question. We will try to answer your questions if time permits. Our co-host this evening just happens to be our previous Live 45 guest, Dr. Risa Martin, the president of the ICD USA section. If you missed the interview, you can still watch the recording posted on the USA section website. Dr. Martin, thank you again for joining us tonight.
Good evening.
So what a rare opportunity for both of us this evening. We have three amazing gentlemen. We are with the chairman of the board and CEO of Henry Schein, Mr. Stanley Bergman, as well as two of his vice presidents, Mr. Stephen Kess and Mr. David Kochman. It is both an honor and privilege to have these three gentlemen with us tonight.
Henry Schein is a major ICD industry supporter. The mutually beneficial and collaborative relationship has been maintained and fortified over 2 decades by the proactive positions taken by our combined leadership of the most senior executives of both organizations. 2 recent examples of our successful team efforts were Henry Schein's service for 3 years as the exclusive worldwide centennial partner and their dramatic donation of $3.6 million worth of PPE with global distribution facilitated by ICD's international network. On behalf of the ICD worldwide, we would like to say thank you.
Now, we would like to take a few moments to share the backgrounds of these three amazing leaders. Mr. Bergman and Mr. Kess happen to also be honorary ICD fellows. The full bio for all these three gentlemen can be found online. We will just be giving a snippet of the amazing work all three have done. Starting with Stanley Bergman. Since 1989, Stanley Bergman has been the chairman of the board and CEO of Henry Schein Incorporated, a Fortune 500 company and the world's largest provider of healthcare products and services to office-based dental and medical practitioners, with approximately 21,600 Team Schein members worldwide and operations or affiliates in 32 countries and territories. Henry Schein is a member of the S&P 500 index. In 2021, the company's sales reached $12.4 billion. Henry Schein has been a Fortune World's Most Admired Company for 21 consecutive years. Mr. Bergman serves as a board member and as an advisory member in numerous institutions, including New York University College of Dentistry, the UPenn Dental School, as well as Columbia Medical Center. Mr. Bergman is an honorary member of the ADA and the Alpha Omega International Dental Society. Mr. Bergman is also the recipient of the Ellis Island Medal of Honor, the CR Magazine Corporate Responsibility Lifetime Achievement Award, the 2017 CEO of the Year Award by Chief Executive Magazine. He also holds numerous honorary doctorates from many universities. Stan and his wife and Dr. Marian Bergman and their family are active supporters of organizations fostering the arts, higher education, and cultural diversity, as well as grassroots healthcare and sustainable entrepreneurial economic development initiatives in the United States, Africa, and other developing regions in the world. Mr. Bergman is a graduate of the University of the Witwatersrand in South Africa and is a South African chartered accountant and a New York State certified public accountant. He's also one of the longest serving CEOs in the country. Thank you so much, Stan, for joining us.
Stephen William Kess, MBA, is widely recognized for his critical insight and ability to synthesize public and private coalitions, as well as business and public policy issues. He is both an entrepreneur and an executive. Mr. Kess is Vice President of Global Professional Relations, Office of Chairman and CEO for Henry Schein, Inc., a Fortune 250 global healthcare solutions company, where he was instrumental in developing Henry Schein Cares, its corporate social responsibility program. Mr. Kess serves as the founding president of the Henry Schein Cares Foundation. An advocate for underrepresented minorities, Mr. Kess has been particularly active in the area of diversity and access to health care for at-risk populations. He has served in a variety of leadership roles in many healthcare associations and organizations. He currently serves as the founding president of the Dr. Edward B. Shees Entrepreneurial Fund and chairman of Project Accessible Oral Health for individuals with disabilities. He is the immediate past president, but an active EMC member of the Santa Fe Group, an oral health think tank dedicated to improving lives through oral health. In addition, Mr. Kess serves as a host of dental school advisory boards. He has served in the past as the chairman of the Dean's Advisory Board of Harvard University School of Dental Medicine and has served on many other dental school boards. He has also served on the boards of Oral Health America, Children's Dental Health Project, the American Dental Association Foundation, where he helped co-develop the ADA Give Kids a Smile program, which is now in its 20th year, and the American Medical Association Foundation and Alliance for Oral Health Across Borders, now in its 12th year. In addition, Mr. Kess has served on strategic planning group for the American Veterinary Medical Association Vision 2020 and FDI's Vision 2020 program task force for developing its strategic plan and defining the explanation of oral health. While at Harvard, he was instrumental in creating the initiative to integrate oral health and primary care. Mr. Kess has been married for 54 years and lives in New York City with his wife, Sharon. They have one daughter, Meredith Millen, and two grandchildren, Benjamin and Alexandra. Welcome, Mr. Kess.
Thank you so much, Risa. It's great to be here this evening and share this opportunity with Stan, of course, and with David.
Thank you.
Last but not least is David Kochman, the Vice President of Corporate Affairs and Deputy Chief of Staff for Henry Schein Incorporated. In that position, he is responsible for the company's corporate social responsibility, global professional relations, and government relations activities, as well as the management and administration of projects and initiatives originating from the Office of the CEO. Before law school, David worked in Jerusalem for the Deputy Speaker of the Israeli Knesset. David is actively involved with numerous charitable organizations focused on healthcare and criminal justice, and has received many awards recognizing his dedication to public service. While at Henry Schein, he continues to represent a death row inmate in post-conviction proceedings and serves on the board of directors of both MedShare and the Fortune Society. David received his BA in philosophy from Emory University and his JD from the Benjamin N. Cardozo School of Law. Thank you so much, David, for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Well, the one thing that resonates with me after hearing all of your backgrounds is your true dedication to serving others globally. Thank you.
And I have to agree with that, Risa. Now, let's find out more about each one of our guests. Henry Schein, as well as Henry Schein Cares. Mr. Bergman, I believe you have an opening statement to make.
Thank you, Risa, and thank you, Akshay, for hosting us this evening. Perhaps one of the more meaningful interviews we've participated in, certainly in a long time. Your organization does remarkable work, consisting of people that care about making a difference in the world and the cream of the crop. It's really been an honor to be working with you for, I think, almost 2 decades or maybe more. So thank you for hosting us. And thank you for those kind introductions. What I think is very important tonight is that we take a moment to reflect on what is unfolding in the Ukraine. And it's very personal to me. In February 1936, my parents fled Nazi Germany to escape persecution and the coming war in Europe, finding refuge in pre-apartheid South Africa. So as the son of refugees, I'm shocked and dismayed by the outbreak of war, once again in Europe, 77 years after the end of World War II. It is stunning. I don't understand it. I can't come to terms with it, and none of us really can. It is just impossible to integrate. All of us at Henry Schein open our hearts to the innocent victims of this war. Our thoughts are with the people of Ukraine and those on the battlefield, and those refugees that had to flee and are fleeing their homes. We have numerous Team Schein members who come from Ukraine, others that come from Russia and the region, and family members of our Team Schein members now are in harm's way. The same applies to your membership. There are many of your members that in one way or another have their roots in this part of the world. So we at Henry Schein, as well as many others of goodwill in the world, and especially people in the dental community, are committed to helping the innocent civilian families who find themselves in the middle of this armed conflict by, in our case, supporting with medical products for the medical dental teams that are serving the sad victims of this terrible, terrible confrontation. Henry Schein will support the Ukrainian people and the refugees from the war with donations of products and other resources, working with our long-standing philanthropic humanitarian aid partners to move goods safely into the region, and any dentist or anyone in the healthcare community that is personally involved in providing support to victims. We have pledged an initial contribution with a minimum of $350,000. I'm sure that number will go up, and that'll be products and cash. But we will not say no to anyone that is helping the victims of this terrible, terrible situation. And we are, of course, in that connection, eager to work with ICD members who have specific hands-on involvement, whether they are practitioners or family members of practitioners. If you or your membership are helping these refugees in one way or another, please give us a call. We want to support you. Now is really the time for people of goodwill to recommit to promoting the values of a peaceful world. Of course, this work is never done, really not truly done, until we are ending these kinds of confrontations. And we are painfully reminded tonight that we all need to strive to figure out how to get along on this planet that is suffering also from significant environmental issues. There's no time for war. Mankind has no time. We have bigger issues to deal with. So, Risa and Akshay, thank you for hosting us. My colleagues will, of course, contribute to the discussion. There are two remarkable individuals committed to one thing, of course, business, but more important, to helping make the world a better place. So with that in mind, please fire away. There's no question that is off the ranch. You can ask any question you wish, and we're ready.
Well, Stan, first of all, let me say thank you for those remarks. And as the spokesperson for the International College of Dentists tonight, may I say that our hearts and our prayers are with the Ukrainian people. And I pray that they can all escape unharmed and restart their lives as well. And thank you so much for the support that you are willing to give, not only to ICD, but to those around the world. That says a lot about you and about your company. Thank you.
Thank you, Risa. Thank you, of course, for what your organization is doing to make the world a better place. This is not only about improving on your professional skills. I'm sure that happens, and I'm sure you're involved with other organizations. But this organization, ICD, is committing to helping people, just people that find themselves in unfortunate situations, and just making the world a better place. So it's really an honor for us to be collaborating with you.
Well, our honor too. Well, let me ask you, for our listeners who may not be acquainted with your company, can you tell us a little about Henry Schein?
Well, it's hard to tell you a little because I've been with the company for over 40 years, so I know a lot, but I'll try. And then Steve and David will keep me on track. But essentially, Henry Schein is committed to providing high quality products at good pricing. And our roots go back to our founding. Henry himself was a pharmacist and was one of the first pharmacists to be committed to bringing generic drugs to the people of the United States. It was a tough assignment. He had a lot of challenges. He was challenged by some of the companies that didn't want to see generic drugs. Of course, Henry Schein played a key role in passing of the legislation that provides for the orderly bringing to market of generic drugs, the Hatch-Waxman legislation of 1986, 84 actually. And today, of course, 96% of generic drugs are generic drugs. That's our roots. We came out with the first dental catalog in the mid-70s, way before Amazon. I think we had Amazon, that idea before they did. It was a list of all dental products, and we had the audacity to list the price. That was not appreciated by the then constituents in the dental market, who just did not like us publishing a price, let alone a discount price. And you know what? If customers ordered the product, we actually had it in stock. Because in those days, if you wanted a product, you place an order with the exclusive distributor for a particular brand in your region, and you'd hope to get the product. So we broke that paradigm. We did it in medicine as well. We took that notion to Europe, to Asia, around the world. And then in the early 90s, we brought computers into the dental market through Easy Dental, which was the first produced and sold a computer software system. And we explained to dentists that you can actually use a computer in your office to drive efficiency and quality of care. Of course, today that is Dentrix and Easy Dental and a whole bunch of other systems that run offices around the world. And we've advanced in a number of areas like that. In other words, breaking new ceilings, whether it's in implants with Camlog brand and our BioHorizons brand, or with endodontics, our Brasler brand, Edge Endo. The whole idea is being always, and reveal in the orthodontics, high quality products but at a discounted price, helping practitioners operate a more efficient practice by providing better clinical care. And we've been able to do this in combination with advancing social issues. The big issue on our agenda today is the high correlation between good oral care and good health care. We're big advocates for dentistry being recognized as part of healthcare and not a drill fill business. And it's not an easy battle that Steve has been fighting almost single-handedly in some instances for 30 years, trying to convince payers of insurance, payers of dental care, insurance carriers, employers, the government, that oral care is oral care. It's not drilling and filling. And if you take care of your teeth, you'll live a longer and happier life. And that's the key ingredients of what we're doing now. You heard also that Steve really, together with a couple of people at NYU, introduced the notion of disability, taking care of patients that have disability, or dentists taking care of patients that have disability. Another area that got very, very little focus. In fact, most dentists do not really understand how to handle a disabled person. So these are the kinds of things we're involved with recently. And I've probably spoken too much. So ask your second question, and then maybe that's something that Steve or David can respond to. But I can go on for hours talking about Henry Schein. We believe in the notion of that Benjamin Franklin came up with a couple of 100 years ago, enlightened self-interest, doing well by doing good, the ability for business and society to work together.
Thank you, Stan. So the next question, is about Henry Schein. Y'all regularly are on the Fortune list for the most admired company. And a major reason for that is their commitment to social responsibility. Can you tell us a little bit more about Henry Schein Cares?
Yes, I'll tell you a little bit more about Henry Schein Cares. What I'll tell you is how it started. And about 30 years ago, I went to a meeting of the American Fund for Dental Health, I think that was the name, with a guy by the name of Steve Kess. And there was the squabbling about who would raise money and who owned the right to make contributions and take care of philanthropic components of dentistry. And Steve ran at that time our podiatry business. I have no idea why he was in Chicago at that meeting, but he came with me. It's one of those things that happens in life. And he started addressing this group of dentists. I mean, I can talk about now, it's 30 years ago, 30 plus, people from the ADA, from other parts of dentistry, they'll argue. And I don't know if you, for those that know Steve, Steve's not shy, banged on the table and he said, team, you gotta listen to this. You have a responsibility to do well, make a contribution to society through dental care. Steve, that was the genesis of Henry Schein Cares.
True.
Maybe you could
That was true.
explain a little bit more to the viewers.
Sure. Thank you, Stan. And I think it's clear already what makes Henry Schein a special company. It starts at the top and it comes downstream. Stanley is an amazing individual because of his compassion, his insights, and his commitments. And they're very deep and they're strong. And it's really an honor to be part of this team. Specifically, the Oral Health America at the time, American Fund for Dental Health, was having some political challenges. Ultimately, the American Dental Association pulled away from them and started their own foundation. I became active with Oral Health America because it gave us a chance at the time to introduce a new concept of public and private partnerships. It was something that we created because it enabled us to create a bond of commonality between industry and the profession, because we both, from different perspectives, were focused on the care of the public. And that philosophy ultimately resulted in us recognizing that there were really 5 constituents in our design for success. It was Team Schein members, of course, our industry partners who manufactured the products and services that we sold, of course, our customers and the dental team who used them as part of their care, our stockholders at the time, because we were a new public company in the middle to 1996, 1997. And then the piece that we added that was early and nobody was really focusing on was the public. We recognized that the common denominator in all of our intentions was the public's need for oral health literacy, access, specifically overcoming a a lack of appreciation of how important oral health was. So Henry Schein Cares was a natural extension of our philanthropy, of our corporate passion. And as Stan didn't mention, but the Scheins themselves, from their inception of the business, were also philanthropic. So I would say it was part of the DNA, and we had a lot of opportunities ultimately to help create strategic relationships and build trust. David, you want to pick up a little bit?
Sure. I think that what you find uniquely amongst our Team Schein members, every one of them to a person, one of the top reasons that they joined Henry Schein is because of what Henry Schein does. Henry Schein cares. You know, they're convicted about it. And I'll relate that back. I think philosophically it aligns with, you know, how we view our relationship with the profession itself. If you ask any dentist, one of the top 2 reasons why they became a dentist, because they want to help people. So if we're not a company that wants to help people, we're misaligned with the profession. So we view it as both an obligation and an opportunity for us to do better with our customers alongside of them by doing well with society. And that just happens to fit harmoniously with the ICD's mission, which is, you know, developing great leaders and doing great humanitarian work. So really a privilege and a pleasure to kind of, you know, ride the coattails of these 2 fine gentlemen here and get to work with terrific partners like the ICD.
Well, thank you all. Well, speaking of relationships, can you tell us a little bit about the relationship between Henry Schein and the International College of Dentists?
So it's a terrific history. We're involved with many, many healthcare organizations, but the one I find a lot of personal connection to, admiration, and amazing people. You have an amazing membership. I don't know how you screen for this, how this all happens, but everyone in your organization is just committed to making the world a better place. We identified with that. And Steve and I met a number of your members around the world, and then we made a commitment to get more involved. Steve,
Sure.
how did the early days start? How did it all start?
So I actually think, and I could be wrong, but what's standing out for me is that I remember going to a meeting and there was a dentist who was holding a class on volunteerism. His name is Dr. Frank Serio, an amazing individual. And I went in and I took his class, and I'm listening to him talk and how selfless he was and how passionate he was, and ultimately I hung out after the program was over and asked him about himself, and he told me about the International College and that he does this, and several members of the International College do this at meetings all over the country to recruit more dentists to volunteer. And we were already involved by this point with the ADA, and Stanley was on the Future of Dentistry task force, which gave us and him specifically a lot of insight into where the profession was going at the turn of the century and early into it. So after meeting Frank, also a gentleman from New York, Ira Tututnik, I probably butchered his last name, but he was in the Metro New York area and also an advocate for the association. And so we began to sponsor Frank's program at different meetings. They didn't have to, we recognized early on that we are not in the program business, because that's the health professionals' job, but we can help their programs be much better. And so the chemistry of our relationships were really organic because we understood what they wanted to do. We had some good skill sets and experience in both scaling up as well as helping facilitate and organize programs. And of course, having Stan to champion all of this, we got into the social responsibility business, I would say. It was really a brand value of the company early on, and it's proven to bring lots of success over the years. But ICD specifically started there, but then it jumped across the ocean separately, and a colleague of ours, a dear colleague, Simon Gamble, who is also an honoree of the ICD from the United Kingdom. He began to create relationships similar to ours here in the United States with Philip Dowell, who was involved with the organization. And then subsequently, David was working with Dove Sydney, who is very active globally with Alpha, with the ICD. And so we continue to evolve because one good program resulted in another, because unfortunately the need is so pronounced. David, you want to pick up on where we are with them now, with ICD?
Yeah, I don't want to step on Reese's future questions, but I'll just make a comment about the importance of relationships. I think, if you look back at the founding of ICD, right, which was this relationship between a Japanese dentist and a US dentist, seeing the importance of having those kind of bilateral relationships. I think that that's a lot of how we view our relationship with the profession, that it's quite symbiotic. Henry Schein plays a unique and special role within the healthcare ecosystem to help support, not lead, but we're here to support because we can enable a lot of the work of the profession. ICD is someone who's going and grabbing that, so we love to partner with them. And as you look around, there are a number of phenomenal organizations in the world doing great things, pulling in terrific membership. But ICD, with its firmly rooted in humanitarian work, and on top of that, its global footprint. If you look, its leaders, section leaders all around the world are truly the leading dentists, both in dentistry and outside of that, in their communities. So the relationship itself makes a lot of sense, and we see enormous potential to continue growing with ICD.
Well, thank you. I will say, I know Frank Serial would say thank you so much for your support, and all of our volunteer seminar speakers would echo that as well. So Stan and Steve, both of you have been inducted as fellows into ICD, and you did mention Simon Gamble earlier. What did this induction mean to you?
Bottom line is, it's great to be recognized by people who you share values. There's nothing more important than that, I think, from a philanthropic point of view. So to me, to be recognized by people that really care, that understand philanthropy, understand doing good, was the ultimate professional honor. So I clearly remember the induction. I clearly was emotional that day. And for me, it still is one of the key honors that I've ever received. It's in my bio, and it'll be there forever.
It's wonderful.
Steve.
So similarly, I think the recognition by the profession, especially the ICD membership, that the work that we were doing was worthy of recognition. It was also a reconfirmation for Team Schein that both Stanley and Simon and myself were inducted. It's a continuum of care, of commitment that was in our blood. I have no doubt that somewhere in the future, other members of Henry Schein will be recognized for its ongoing support of the association as the globalization and the unfortunate need continues. But the relationships and being recognized. Reese, were you in the same group that I was in?
What year were you in? 2000?
2000? No, it was much later than that. I came late to I was the third of the Team Schein members, but it was later on. For some reason I thought it was, but maybe you presided at the ceremony. It was in Chicago. Stanley was recognized in Texas at the ADA meeting, and when it was in I think it was Dallas, Texas, or Houston, Texas. But it was really just a wonderful experience, very, very formal, and very much meaningful and remembered.
Well, thank you both.
So we've talked about the volunteerism of both our organizations, but as David kind of mentioned about the leadership. So we had three amazing leaders right here of a Fortune 500 company, and I want to ask all three of y'all what or who inspired you to pursue a leadership track in Henry Schein.
Well, my initial mentor at Henry Schein was the late Jay Schein. Jay was an inspirational visionary, Henry's son. He never wanted to come in the business. In fact, he was a Wall Street attorney. He was general counsel for the Comax. He actually, for a period of time, was Ross Perot's general counsel. And his father was getting old, and he was asked to come into the business by the family and package it to sell it. And he fell in love with Henry's investment in the generic drugs and with Henry Schein. And what really inspired him on the Henry Schein side was the AIDS crisis in the early 80s, when infection control was not understood, sepsis control was not understood. He encouraged the company, which was a very small company at that time, gosh, maybe a couple of $100 million, inspired the company to publish the first manual on products that were required for infection control. And talk about it now, but it's a long time ago. We came out with this book, this booklet, Sterilize as If Your Life Depends on It. And the then ADA asked it to take it off the floor of the American Dental Association meeting in San Francisco. They said it was inappropriate. Well, we thought it was appropriate. We held meetings across the road from the ADA, and I think through the work we did, we saved lives, because it's obviously then became standard of care to use gloves and masks and cleaning solutions. And through that, that commitment, we founded an organization called OSAP, which is the leading organization today in infection control, not only in dentistry, but in many other areas. Jay was a remarkable person. He sat with leaders of 5 other small generic drug companies I mentioned earlier, got this legislation passed to legitimize generic drugs, and was the co-founder of the National Organization of Rare Diseases. He had no family member that had a rare disease, but he saw kids that were impacted by Tourette's syndrome, or Tourette's, and ended up testifying in Congress. I mean, I could go on and on and on about him, but his big thing was he allowed young leaders, I was 30 years old when he hired me, to run big chunks of the company. And that is a deep part of the Henry Schein culture today. Give young people a chance, and maybe David could talk about that as well. And then in the mid-90s, I had the opportunity of meeting a professor at the Wharton Business School by the name of Dr. Edward B. Schultz. He was the founder of the Wharton Entrepreneurial Center, the first entrepreneurial center at any university in the world. In other words, he was the first to codify the concept of entrepreneurship. And he happened to be the executive director of the Dental Manufacturers of America, a remarkable individual. At 69, they asked him to retire as chair of the Department of Management at Wharton. He went across the street, enrolled in law school, and needed a master's degree, and founded the Department of Alternative Dispute Resolution, which is the notion of trying to find ways to resolve disputes other than going to the courts. And in fact, that methodology is used in international conflicts. Unfortunately, it's not always used, but there are, as we can tell by what's going on right now in Eastern in Ukraine and Russia. But that was who he was. And I would say in his late 70s, early 80s, he became an assistant at it was a DA, Steve, I can't remember, DA for the elderly. And he would go to court and argue. He laid the foundation of much of this concept, both of them together, that you can be in business, but you can do good. And what I just said applies to you guys from a dental point of view. You can be dentists, but you can also do good. And so that's the commonality, by the way, that we have with the organization. But those are other people, of course, but inspired me. But Jay was very frequently used the concept that Senator, the late Senator Kennedy would talk about. Some people, some men, women, see things and say why. I see things that never were, and say why not. And that was Jay's mantra. The whole idea of that was contained in the Robert Frost quote, that line, I see two paths in the woods and I took the one least traveled. That was Jay. And he inspired me, and he and Ed were remarkable people. As Ed was getting to the end of his life, we committed to establish a foundation that would continue his legacy. And Steve became the founding president. He did two things that were, of course, you'd say, wow, that's not great, but they were great at the time. He was one of the first to convene meetings in the area of diversity in dentistry. He was our inspiration to co-found the Center for Minority Leadership at the ADA. And he convened the first group of women dentists. Unfortunately, after his death, it faded, but it's now come back again. So, I mean, he was a Renaissance person, 20 years ahead of his time, 30 years ahead of his time. And he inspired Steve and me. And Steve worked with him towards the last days, and he was a remarkable guy. At 89, he was coming home from a lecture at Wharton. He insisted on going to that lecture. It was snowing heavily, and he was involved. He hit a tree, and I guess that's the way he would have wanted to go. Coming home from Wharton, one of the most popular classes, the young people would flock from all over Penn to go into his class. So Steve, who else inspired you? Maybe David.
Well, I could answer very quickly. It's pretty clear that Stanley and I met on opposite sides of a table in such an absurd situation. I was involved with a business person from Germany named Peter Schein. And in 1986, I started an orthopedic company with Peter as a partner, and we agreed that the name of my company in the United States was Schein Orthopedic Products. My timing was terrible because the stock market crashed in '87. I wrote a letter to the Henry Schein Company and asked if they would like to distribute my product line. Never heard from them. 2 years later, I get a phone call from Jay's office wanting a meeting, and I brought Peter from Germany, and I went into this meeting, and they asked why we were using the name. We explained it, no, but then Stanley entered the meeting, and I explained to him, I wrote a letter to a member of the team, and if you know Stanley, he gets involved immediately. He got to the bottom of the whole situation, and his last remarks to me at the time, although I didn't join, we didn't see each other for almost a half year after, but he said to me, so what do you do that makes our phone ring? And why don't you do it with us? And that was the quote. It was legitimately just that simple. And it was just so profound because he cut right through everything to get to the essence of, because we were promoting our company, which had nothing to do with Henry Schein, different colors, different name, different everything. But because Henry Schein had established itself, they were calling Henry Schein to buy our product. So they were getting confused. And so we met through unexpected circumstance, and we, I think, bonded immediately and had a couple of travel experiences together, and recognized that here's an individual who sees a much, much bigger picture, and was very instrumental in my life.
So Steve is being very nice. What actually happened was, that is all true. But Jay Schein called me into his office and said, who are those people? I said, they're using the Schein name. I have to be polite, so I can't tell you exactly what he said, but it's something, who are they to use my name? And of course, you can, if you have the name Schein, you're allowed to use it. And these people from Germany use the name. And I said to him, Jay, these are good people. We should do something with them. Forget the name. And subsequently, Steve joined us, ran our podiatry business. and the rest is history. And then he went to that famous meeting in Chicago where I hear this guy who's a podiatry guru start talking about how organized dentistry can do good. And I'm listening to this. And literally at that moment, I pushed my chair back from the table and I never went to one of these meetings again until Steve called me into an ADA, the ADA Future of Dentistry committee or commission. And before I knew it, I found myself 10 years later in this, 15 years later in this commission. But Steve got our engagement in social responsibility in the dental profession. He cemented that. The lesson there is you may litigate somebody, but always look for the good. And we have several examples. Biggest anesthetic company in the world is Septidon. We started out in litigation, so and then we helped create the business. It's a separate company today.
That's an amazing story. I tell you, a lot of fun memories, it sounds like. Well, can you tell me what are some of the most difficult issues that arose during this pandemic for you and your leadership team? And what were the positive takeaways? I am just sure you have a lot of positives.
Well, of course, the most difficult was the decisions that had to get made about PPE. I'll tell you what the most frustrating was, and that was in 2015 at the World Economic Forum. We convened a group of manufacturers, people from global multinational organizations, including the World Food Program, the World Health Organization, various UN agencies. And we spoke about the notion that the supply chain for PPE is very fragile. 70 or so % of masks come from a particular Asian country, and 80% or so of gloves from another one. Nothing wrong with those countries, but supply chain, we told all these gurus, including some world leaders, the then president of the World Bank, we said this is fragile. And lots of meetings were held, but nothing got done about it. And actually, that was one of the most frustrating parts of the pandemic. PPE is a nit, a small little thing in the world's economies. And if countries got together to do something similar to what countries do for customs unions or for shipping lanes or for air lanes, we would not have ended up with this crisis. And that was frustrating. What was frustrating was for about 2 months, we just could not get our act together for PPE, until the FEMA people, who are remarkable individuals. These are civil servants that give their life to dealing with crises, until they got involved. When they got involved, things started changing. But we had to make a very, very tough decision recently in early April of 2020. We had significant quantities of PPE. A third of our business is medical and 2/3 is dental. And we were involved in the White House task force on PPE. It was a real mess. It subsequently got sorted out by these professionals. And we were asked to turn over our PPE. There was no government order, to hospitals. And I'm sitting in my study on First Avenue in Manhattan. Now, for those that know about New York City, just south of where I am is Bellevue Hospital and NYU. Just north of where I am is 6, 7 hospitals, Columbia, Cornell. And the ambulances were going up and down First and Second Avenue, on one side of First Avenue and the other side of Second Avenue. And these healthcare practitioners in these hospitals had nothing. No PPE. We talk about N95s, they didn't have N95s, they didn't have any kind of, they were using fabric. So our PPE was stored ready for dentists when dentists would open up. And we made the right decision. I think we turned it over to those frontline medical practitioners and any dentist that was actually practicing and had their practice open. We restricted quantities going to dentists that were, buying products to keep for when the practice would open. And that was a tough decision because it wasn't the right business decision. The right business decision would have been for us to hold back. So when our customers open up their practices, we could ship. And we held that product. We didn't hold the product. We emptied our warehouses. And I think we saved a lot of lives. It was a tough, tough business decision. And subsequently, we were involved with the government in bringing product over. Government chartered planes to bring product over, but it was not easy. It's full of political issues in the exporting countries. But it all worked out. But I tell you what, Lisa, what I'm very frustrated about is the fact we have not done anything about it. Not this country and no other country. We're back to where we were. There's plenty of factories that are open to make masks in the US, but they've practically closed again because the price from these products abroad is much less. So we need a global, US plan, a global plan. And, it's a small amount of money, PP&E, but it saves lives. I say small amount in the context of the entire economy. It's nothing, peanuts, but we've not done anything about it. And Steve and David and others in our organization have been lobbying governments around the world. We're hopeful that governments will wake up and realize that we've got to store the stuff. We've got to make sure that there's local manufacturing, not because our supply partners from abroad are bad, but you need stuff in the country because what happens in these kinds of situations, the suppliers very often are forced by governments not to ship product. So you asked the question, you got a mouthful.
And we are very, very thankful for what you have done through this pandemic. Not just for the dentists, but the community as a whole. So to wrap up the night, this is the last question. But going through life, we have a lot of personal quotes that resonate. Listening to the stories, one of the quotes that resonates with me at this moment is a quote by author A.D. Williams, which said, kindness is not an act, it's a lifestyle. And I think Henry Schein truly depicts that. Are there any quotes that the three of y'all would like to share with our viewers?
David hasn't had a chance to speak. And David, go ahead.
It's rare that a lawyer gets less airtime speaking than accountants and dentists and former orthopedic salesmen. I'm a big fan of quotes. One I recently think about is, I love that a society should be judged by how it treats the lowest amongst them. And I think that invokes a sense of, kind of community, that we're all in this together. And especially at a time like now where we really do think about how we're supporting one another. I just love the symmetry that brings in of our interconnectedness. And I think it really speaks to healthcare overall, right? I mean, we can't be a healthy society if we are not healthy itself, if we're a sick group. So thank you for that. I love that question. Steve, I don't know, we'll go backwards this time.
Okay, just a quick one. I think the quote that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with a team.
That is a very famous Tanzanian proverb, and I love that, Steve. But I cannot end without talking about Risa and Akshay, my hero, Nelson Mandela, remarkable individual. Of course, there's the political aspect, but there's the people side of him. That's his picture there, by the way. His last picture as a free person leaving his office. He was a lawyer, and he spent 26 plus years in prison. And he was fond of saying, it always seems impossible until it's done. And with that in mind, the work you're doing. Some of it may seem impossible, but you can improve the lives of millions of people around the world by your dental work, by teaching people how to take care of themselves through good oral care. And I salute your organization. I salute the work you do. And it may seem impossible sometimes to balance your practice with your philanthropy, but you do it. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, I would like to take a moment and highlight just one of the many recipients of an ICD USA Section Foundation and Henry Schein Cares Humanitarian Stimulus Grant supported by donations from Henry Schein. It's the Seafarers Ministry Dental Clinic Care. The Seafarers Ministry in Honolulu provides free dental care to deep sea fishermen who originate from third world countries like Micronesia, Indonesia, Philippines, and Vietnam. All of them are out at sea for months at a time and suffer from a multitude of oral health problems. They receive very small wages, and because they are foreign nationals, they cannot leave restricted areas to seek dental care. Seafarers Ministry is their only resource for care. Seafarers Ministry is staffed by volunteer dentists and medical doctors. Between September of 2019 and March 2020, 200 patients were seen by 8 volunteer dentists and 6 to 10 University of Hawaii pre-dental students for emergency, operative, and preventative care. Again, this is just one of the many projects created by the ICD Fellows to serve others locally and globally through the generous donations by Henry Schein and Henry Schein Cares. On behalf of ICD worldwide, I would like to say thank you for your continued partnership for the past 2 decades.
And I would just like to echo that same sentiment. And that sentiment is being echoed on our Facebook video link. And I would just like to mention a few of those. One is from Dr. Carr, who says, "Thank you, Henry Schein, for all the support you have shown the ICD and the dental profession." We also have messages from everywhere. We have Dr. Hunter, who is on the foundation board, thanking for everything that the Henry Schein does with the ICD Foundation. So thank you again, all 3 of you. Thank you for taking time from your very busy schedule and spending time with us and letting us know the stories and the history of Henry Schein, but also showing the great partnership the 2 organizations have. And we really do appreciate the 3 of you for coming and continuing to do the work that you do for Henry Schein and for all our ICD members. Thank you.
Thank you.
I echo that, and I thank you all for your friendship for the many years, many years in dental practice that I had as well.
Thank you both for what you do. Thank you to all of your members. Sitting here tonight, I have so many fun memories of spending time with you all. I was really looking forward to visiting with you in Japan, and David, Steve, we got to work with the ICD to make it happen.
Thank you. Reese, always great to see you.
Thank you all very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
So again, thank you everyone for joining us, not just our guests, but also our viewers on Facebook. Again, look for upcoming 2022 interview days. They will be posted on our USA section website by visiting usa-icd.org. Hover on the events tab and click on the events list drop-down link. Recordings of our live interviews are posted on the USA section website under the publication tab. It's also on our Facebook group. Please join and make sure you follow for all our updates. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.